Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 5 brawlers which I think are secretly absolutely insane in this meta. So we're actually starting off with Jessie then. So Jessie in the meta is pretty solid overall. I think she's definitely a lot better right now considering just the play rates in competitive, but not only that, I've just been like using her, especially in Power League. There's been a few instances where people just really underrate it. I've gone like Jessie on Ring of 5, for example. Of course, she's going to be insane on pretty much any single hot zone map, but maybe the addition of Jewel and Beetles has really helped her. I think, again, if you're going to be playing Power League, which everyone, of course, doesn't do all the time, making sure that you kind of draft in her late on, because, of course, there will be some brawlers that do counter her range. But you can see here against Cordelius, I can somewhat be okay, can keep my distance for the most part. And I should be able to pop my turret down in a second and survive with the energized style power. And somehow I nearly end up getting a triple kill. That is insane in the end. I get 2 of them. I nearly get Cordelius, which is just hilarious to me. But if I was playing with Jessie, I definitely would consider picking her against low DPS compositions. I can think of like Stu, for example. I can think of even like brawlers like B. I know she's not low DPS, but definitely a brawler that Jessie can counter. I don't know, just really been liking it, and so far we're going to be able to just carry basically my team to victory in the end. Even though I was basically in the shadow room for the majority of the game, I'm just really liking it. Jessie, of course, good in Brawl and Gem Grabber as well. The only thing is, on certain maps in Brawl, you don't really want to go like Pinball Dreams, for example, because throwers do counter her a lot. So making sure that you're looking to pick her towards the end of a draft to specifically counter a lot of other mid brawlers, you know, like Gus and B, for example, and make sure you're not drafting her on maps like Pinball Dreams where there's just throwers like Dynamite and Barley. But seriously, across probably 4 game modes, she's insane right now. Let's hop into the next one. So jumping into the next brawler who I think is really underrated and she's secretly insane, is going to be Pam. So I know you guys straight away are going to say, well, you put Pam in pretty much every single underrated list. I know I do. Maybe I have a secret crush on your mum, but the thing is, Pam is actually pretty good. Like, people don't talk about her mythic gear enough, in my opinion. So if you're unaware somehow, basically with the update, she was the only brawler that actually received a brand new mythic gear, and it's actually really strong. Honestly, it could be onto the OP stage just because of how much healing you can do with this turret. So specifically in game modes like Hot Zone, you've seen a lot more Pam now. Normally she was just a brawler that was probably picked a few times in competitive. You know, she's just decent on some maps, especially double switch, the one I'm playing on now, normally as a lane. But inside of Hot Zone, she's actually incredibly strong. It's just so hard to kill a Pam when she's got a turret behind like an unbreakable wall or just in like a pocket somewhere. You can just get so much value out of your healing station. The opponents have got to really address it because it's just too good. I mean, my opponents aren't really the best, but we can use our scrap sucker here, get a lot of value. We're going to pop our turret down as well. And I just feel like I'm always topped up with HP. You know, you combine this as well. I don't think I'm using it right. I'm using Vision. But if you're on a non-grassy map, you combine this with the heal gear, for example, and it's like impossible for the enemies to actually take you down. So yeah, Pam, I'm really enjoying at the moment. Of course, you can't just draft her everywhere, but I think she's specifically, well, especially good against those low DPS compositions, which you typically see in maps, well, game modes like Hot Zone and Gem Grab. For me, I think she's incredibly underrated, and I think people are going to start realizing how strong that mythic gear is pretty soon. Okay, so jumping into the next brawler who I think is secretly insane. I don't think there's actually no secret about it. If you watched my last video, it is Sam. So I know sometimes as well I get comments like, you know, Spen, you think a brawler is bad just because you're bad at them, and Sam is probably that instance where I'm actually really terrible at him, so maybe that influences me a little bit when I rank him. But at the same time, like, I've got to appreciate just how good Sam is in this meta, especially under the right hands. The way you play Sam right, you can't just kill every single brawler in the game. You've got to pick your opportunities. He actually reminds me of Mortis, but with extra steps. That's maybe why people don't really like Sam. Of course, you haven't got the bats, but it's all about pressures, all about running in behind enemy lines and making sure that you're constantly on their minds. Like you see time and time again, the best Sam is always in their spawn trying to make something happen. Fortunately, we can kill that Sam right here, and we have an open net to slot that in thanks to our Cordelius. But as I mentioned, he's pretty strong everywhere. I've seen him on Bouncy, I've seen him on Gem Grab a lot of the times. I've seen him even on Hot Zone on some wild occasions like Ring of 5, for example. Unfortunately, this Maisie is just having a field day on us, but we should be able to Okay, pretty much get that beat down. But you can see on any squishy opponent, you should be able to take them down. And I'm going to try and learn Sam myself to really get the full potential. It takes a long while, I think, in my opinion, to learn a brawler like him because he's a lot different to some of the other brawlers. But I think learning how to play Sam will make me a much better player. So we can just pull the B towards us right here and get that kill pretty easily. I'm just going to use my super here just to run back a little bit. Should be able to get the Maisie down thanks to a quick 1-2 and a knuckle duster or buster, whatever you call it. I was getting that wrong in my casting. I'm not too sure what to actually call it, but this should be a goal right here. Even with Maisie's stun, we should be able to get this one off. And one thing I actually do wrong a lot of times is straight away just throwing my knuckles. You got to kind of combine your main attack and then the super and just do all things beautifully like that. But for me, Sam honestly is starting to get towards the S tier just because of how strong I feel like he is as a last pick brawler. He's definitely the better than the likes of Ash for sure. But that's going to be another brawler who I think is secretly OP. Let's jump into the last one now. Alright guys, jumping into the final brawler who I think is secretly OP. Again, might be a little bit of bias here just because, of course, I'm a bit of a Rico main. But I actually think Rico is pretty strong. I feel like people aren't giving him the credit which he deserves. So recently he did get a buff to his multiple launch. And you can just see right here how quickly I managed to just destroy the Shelly. Unfortunately, Dynamite is just one of my hardest counters. He destroyed me right there. But you just saw how quickly I can destroy people with this gadget. And I feel like, of course, Rico is actually one of the worst brawlers in the game. Like, well, it has been for a little while just because of how easy he is to counter a lot of the times. But I think right now, just because of his gadget alone, especially when it comes down to ladder gameplay, I think he's in a much better chance. I also see him being drafted quite often when it comes down to game modes like Heist. I've seen him on Pit Stop a lot of the times. And I feel like people might slowly start appreciating how good this gadget is. But the thing that I really like about it is, especially when you play Power League, like, of course, Bouncy Castle is going to be really strong on Rico. But what you can do if the opponent, you know, picks a counter, for example, like this Mortis or like a Bonnie or something typically like that, you can just switch over your gadget. Or if you've got a really good matchup, you can just use Bouncy Castle instead. That's what I really like about this gadget change. Of course, it's not going to make him like completely broken, but I think it could be pretty nice. And maybe if the stats aren't kind of there to back it up, I feel like Rico definitely is deserving of a buff pretty soon. But we should be able to get this Dynamite down thanks to our BB. But even if this Mortis wants to go aggro, we should be able to get him down. Okay, he's just going to bat us from across the map. Hopefully we can get him down in time. And this multiple launcher, wow, did you just see how quickly I took him down? Sometimes it's so surprising, but it does feel nice because normally as a Rico main, I'll just get absolutely destroyed by just anything in my face. I'm talking any like as a Rico, you're kind of supposed to at least counter tanks a little bit because, you know, you charge your super off him so easily. But I feel like for the longest time, tanks just used to destroy him. So what place does he have in the meta if he can't really deal with anything? So I'm trying to sneak up right here. Let's see if we can get a good chain going. I'm just going to use the super here on the Mortis and try and get him low. We can just spam the auto aim button because we know we're about to cycle and we can get the final goal. So let me know what videos you want to see next week, by the way. But that's going to be it. Let me know down in the comment section below as well who you think are secretly OP.